Yo, you already know what it is. It's Tri-Town Tory coming to you live in effect. And today I have one of my good homies from over the years, man. I got Mr. Jabari Heavens up in the building, man. How are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing good, bro. Blessed. It's a blessing and honor to be here. Thank you for having me, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing real good, man. And I've been seeing the blessings, man. It's looking real beautiful. You've had an amazing 2024 going into 2025. There's so many things that I want to talk to you about. Before we get into that, I want to make a couple announcements. Like I told everybody on the last podcast that I did, I had a new merch item drop and I got new merch coming. Last year, what I did was I dropped a brand new merch item every single month. And it was kind of tiring because I had to run to the post office so many times. But what I wanted to do this year is I wanted to just drop one big merch item every quarter. So every quarter I'm going to try to hit you with hats, shirts, hoodies, shorts, tote bags, whatever it is, but you're going to get it all in one drop. So be on the lookout for that. I got the Valentine's Day hoodies going crazy right now because I did a new thing where I did a couples deal. So if you can get the two hoodies for $80 or the one hoodie for $50. And we did the DFT, sort of like not vinyl, but like that new style approach or what have we. So it's real good quality and it doesn't wash off real easily. And then I got some music videos coming too with Roque and Prodigy. We're going to shoot a music video with 2K for that one. And then I got my song Tesla. I'm going to shoot a music video for that one. I'm going to have some actresses in that one. So it's going to be a little bit cinematical with that.
Come on.
So we're just gearing up, man. 2025 is going to be the year that if you're in the Northwest and you're making a name for yourself, it's really time for you to hold that flag. Right. Because there's going to be a lot of people that are jumping into the game, new young bloods and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when it comes to you, man, you're a man of many names. I remember, I always wondered if it was just something like you're just constantly evolving, or you know you get tired with things and you want to approach the game differently, or even name the group differently. Because I know you've been in a couple different groups too. But today we're gonna get into all of that. Let's start off with your music origin. Like, where does it all start with you? Like, take me to like the childhood, the influences. What's the relationship with music and you? Where does it start?
Man, that's a good question, man. So my cousin Eric, he used to get all the mixtapes, like all the stuff that dropped like way back in the day when CDs were popping, you know. He used to have like the folders full of like G-Unit 50 Cent stuff before 50 Cent came out, DMX, like all their mixtapes, but they were like their official CDs back then. So he would always come and pick me up, and every time he popped something in, he always had something new. So that's how I kind of got like involved in rap, you know what I mean? But my mom would always play like the R&B stuff back in the day, SWV, Tevin Campbell,
there we go.
All of that tape deck stuff, tape deck days. And that's really like R&B is like really like the basis for me. Like that's what I started loving before rap.
Yes. And you know what's crazy is that your newer music more so, I can see like so many different influences coming together. Like I see the gospel influence that you got going on, but you've always had really good like R&B and pop attributes too. Yeah. Because I always felt like me and you specifically, not to make it about me or nothing, but we were in the underground, but we could cross over into that mainstream platform. And I always felt like it was friendly competition with me and you throughout the years. Yeah. Because I looked at you completely as my equal. And I also thought that there was times where you were better than me. Yeah. You know, so it was awesome that you were always that humble guy who never ever made me feel like I was inferior or smaller. You always looked at me like I was just like neck and neck with you. Yeah. Absolutely. And I thought that was really cool. And it just really laid the ground for us to be here today. You know. It's always been love. It's always been positivity with me and you, and I'm so happy to see so many things going on in your life that are working.
Thank you.
Because I remember thinking like, man, you were just like me trying to figure this shit out too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And not to see that so many things are clicking on so many different levels for you, it's a blessing, man. Thank you. Let's continue with the origin story, okay? Yeah. Shout out to Eric. Shout out to Mama Dukes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Going into adolescent years, I know that was very transformative for me. Yeah. I got into East Coast music. Yeah. I was really into Dirty South music, but then I discovered like the Bad Boy, Rough Riders. Yeah. You know, Rockefeller. Yeah. Where does your journey take you?
Man, so I adapted as well to the East Coast, man. Their lyrics, like the Jadakiss. Yep. Like really heavy on the Jadakiss. His style, the Locks, like their whole styles, man. Him and Styles P were fire. Like Fabulous back then, before, you know, the Traded All days. Yeah. Like what was it, the Street Dreams or something like that.
More Street Dreams.
Yeah,
yep.
That phase of Fabulous, like, man, East Coast did it for me, man. Growing up, like, I like, I don't know, man, they just drew me in. Like, West Coast was always there. Dirty South started popping. West Coast came later, like E40 and all of them, like, and Tupac and stuff. They're like 90s, like mid 90s, they started popping out. But like East Coast was like always there. They always were popping. They always had something. DMX, like Rough Riders, like you said. Like, yeah, bro, they had so many different artists that you just couldn't deny it. You know what I mean? So yeah, so adolescent, East Coast, when Luda dropped.
What Luda a beast,
man, bro, he took over the game, bro. DTP, who else, man?
They don't put enough respect on Luda's name.
No, bro, he owns he has his own airport, right? Or something like that.
He's doing it big over there. I think he's still, where is he at? He's still in Atlanta? I would imagine so.
He probably got multiple homes.
Yeah,
man.
For real talk.
Yin Yang Twins, you remember those?
Yep, Yin Yang Twins. Yep,
the club music when the clubs were popping, like
Lil Jon, man.
Lil Jon, bro.
That energy. The East Side Boys.
Yeah, that shifted the whole. Yeah, it
was amazing, man. And we come from the same school of thought and music.
Yeah.
Same time period. I believe we're the same age. So when I was coming up, it was always like, I felt like the Tri-Cities didn't have like a welcoming like music scene when we were younger, because there was an older generation that had to go through the hardest time period to be a musician in the Tri-Cities, being that it was so expensive to record music, and if you did figure it out, you kind of gatekeeped it a little bit. Producers back then, they used to charge like an arm and a leg for beats and things of that nature. So when we got into the game, I can only speak for myself, but I'm pretty sure you actually, I know that this is the case for you too. We opened the doors for people, and we put people on because we had access to equipment. Like we had Fruity Loops, Acid Pro, Cakewalk, all that kind of shit early on, right? You've always been a very internet savvy, technical savvy. Like you've had computers, you've had software. You were doing your thing, selling beats to us back in the day. You know, using Junior Bass. You know what I'm
Junior
saying?
Bass.
That's a whole podcast in itself, man.
Is.
Your early production days. But tell me how you got into producing beats.
Man, so when my cousin Rock died, R.I.P. Rock, like when he died, like that's when I really shifted. Well, sorry, that's actually when I shifted into rap. But beats, that's a good question. So I think when I was making music with Dwight Francois or something like that. But we had a group called Illegal Records, ERZ, back then, and he made beats. You know what I'm saying? And when I went to his house, he kind of introduced me to Fruity Loops. The first time I've ever touched Fruity Loops, he had it. You know, I made a little beat on there, and I was like, man, like, how do I get that? Can I get that on my computer? Then I got it cracked for me, and then threw it on mine. So Dwight kind of introduced me to the Fruity Loops world. And then running into John, you already know John was like amazing on the beats back then. And Skylar too, like he was amazing on the beat. So once I got the introduction, then, you know, I just, you know, tapped in with them and just kind of learned a little bit.
So you mentioned Skylar and John, who were, I believe, pivotal in the formation of the group Black House.
Oh yeah, they were. Yeah.
Can you tell me about Black House and how you relate to that? Like that's a product of your family. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So give us a little background on that.
Man, so those guys, Alfie Nicks, Alfonso, Isaac Butts, Skylar Lamb, and John Witherspoon, they make up Black House, or they made up Black House back then. And just being like, you know, they gave me the opportunity to perform with them one time at the fair. So just being in the room with them, like the way they created, it was just like the way that you would create with your group back then. It was just like an aura, a vibe of like wanting to be a part of it. And I wanted to be a part of it so bad, but you know, it just wasn't for me, it was for them. So just seeing them and just being right there, it was just very inspiring. Like that literally fueled a lot of my fire, like not being able to be in there and see like their roofless, you know what I mean? See them go skyrocket, like that fueled me. So yeah, they were a major motivation to me to really step my game up and go hard. You know what I mean?
And also for you to create your own collective
Exactly.
as you move forward, right?
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about that, but I also want to touch on the Black House thing in the sense that it was at a special time period where groups were taking off.
Yeah.
Like you remember Pretty Ricky, B2K,
Yeah.
like all these groups were popping like insane. I mean, Bow Wow was even linking up with Soulja Boy. Like there was a lot, it was one of the hottest moments for young music at that time period.
With groups. Yeah.
So just to see something coming from the Tri-Cities that was popping on a Tri-City Herald level, on a Keeper News level, it gave us all chills because we knew immediately, like, we gotta find these guys.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We gotta see what they see so we can align our vision. And I remember that's when the time period where I first got to meet you guys, and it was in the Columbia Court Complex, I believe.
Yep.
And I remember one day, I mean, I had already met you guys individually, but I remember one day I got called up because you guys were freestyling outside of the apartments. And they told me, hey, come over here right now. We want to show you off because we don't think you know these guys or whatever. So I pulled up and I started recognizing you guys right away, and we jumped right into the freestyle cypher. And right away, you know, I felt the love, and I felt like you guys appreciated me because I was different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I had the lyrical ability and the freestyle ability, but like I don't know if you guys ever seen anything like me at that time period, right?
Yeah.
So it was a great moment, and it really solidified who I knew the players were going to be in the Tri-Cities for the years coming, because we had Dial-On right there, you know what I'm saying? We had Skylar, John, everybody that you mentioned earlier was right there, you know what I'm saying? So let's move into the collective. Were you in Mob Clique?
That's a good question. I want to say no and yes. You know, I wasn't, because it was like when it was started, I know it was Young Dom, Yada, who else like Esteban and Bubba, or it's been a minute, but like
there was a whole gang of
there was a lot. Yeah, I was kind of like, I don't know, man. I want to say yes, but not fully. I wasn't
like
fully
associated.
Yeah, I was affiliate. I was definitely affiliate because Dom is my bro and Yada is my fam. So it was like I was kicking it with him like every day. But honestly, no. I have to say no.
Because you guys were that unit was making a lot of waves right out of school. Yeah. And I remember thinking to myself like, okay, I don't know these guys in particular, so I think that I'm probably gonna get dissed by somebody in this crew. And I did actually get dissed by somebody. I forgot. Be It Joe was his name.
Oh yeah, Joe. Yep. Dang, that's crazy.
And I had to end that quick because I pulled a couple. I think I pulled one diss track. I might have did two of them, but people knew right away that I took this very serious. Yeah. And I think that my battle record is pretty definitive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But moving on from that point, I recognized that Young Riders was a name that you actually created.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Give me the whole origin of Young Riders, who was in it, the whole story about how it came together.
Yeah. Bad, man. So high school days, you know, me and Jay, we started hanging out and kicking it. Skylar introduced me to Jay because we had went to Jay's house one day to record a song that Skylar and I had did. And we recorded there, and then I had met Jay. And then I think we exchanged numbers from there. And then we were going to school together and stuff. So we started skipping school, smoking weed, you know, the whole 9 yards. And then we went to his house. And then Young Riders originally started with me, Jay, and Jeremy Hicks, Jay's cousin. We called him Jay Cash. So that was like the original group, us three, like, you know, because we were in school together. We made a song called, what was it? Dang, I can't even remember the freaking name, bro. It was one of those, you know, SoundClick days. The SoundClick beats, it was like an anthem type beat. So we made that song, us three, and then we made a bunch of Burns Disc CDs, and we started selling them for like $2-3, just that one song. And we brought a little boombox into the high school, and we were playing it when everybody left the school, and we sold out all of our CDs. So that was the original three, man. And then, you know, CJ came along later, Prodigy. You know, that's when he had got his name, because Jay which is now Nasty Notes, used to be Protege, which I gave him that name, you know, and CJ got his name for me, you know, because I showed him like the East Coast style of rap, like with the multi-syllable raps and stuff like that, you know, compared to, you know, the Cat in the Hat stuff. So they started then Cuddy J, which is Adam, you know what I'm saying? He joined. Magic, RIP Magic, Michael Mercado, he joined. Like Nick Too Quick, he was a part of it. Man, and then it just started growing from there. Like, but that was the original gang, Jay, Jeremy, and myself. And I came up with the name because it was just like we were young at the time, and I liked the Writers vibe, but you know, I wanted to be witty back then and make it Writers, like, you know, writing. You know,
for sure.
Yeah. So
and you guys all wrote really dope. I mean, I even had a little back and forth with one of your guys' rappers.
Yeah.
Cutthroat.
Yep, Cuddy.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny too. That was back in high school. I remember I think it all started over some girl. But it evolved quickly because him and his rap partner, I forgot who he was rapping with at the time.
Was it? Dang, he was rapping with somebody.
Was it Tatum?
Tatum, yep.
Okay. And I remember he had problems with my homie Eduardo, who was in the Hard Hitters.
Yep.
Right? So, of course, I took that as an opportunity for me to show off my lyrical ability.
Yeah.
And I remember they did a diss track to us, and they were talking about rainbow bandanas. So I went and I got an 8-ball and MJG beat.
Ooh.
Yeah, we shut that shit down real quick.
Shout
out to them, man. Those were the fun days, you know, when shit did not matter. Cause, you know, we didn't give a fuck. We thought it was all comedy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? And I've seen Adam, right? Yeah, I've seen him many times throughout the years, and it was always love, man. He was always a cool guy. So, moving forward. Did you ever have any, like, you did have actual back and forths, didn't you?
I did.
There was one that was really ahead of its time.
Yeah.
You and Primo, man.
Yeah.
You guys were doing the internet shit before anybody.
Yeah, was that, yep.
It was crazy. It reminded me of like some Joe Budden TV shit. Like, it was literally, you guys were creating content.
Yeah, man. We were going hard.
Can you run us through that time period? That was special.
Yeah, that was a good time. You know, I was really tight with Firing Squad. Like, I was spending the night at Z's house and doing all of that. Me and Dom were tight. So I linked up with Jeff Scott. You know, he was in Richland. He was throwing those shows at the Rock, or not the Rock Record, but Raise Go to Line.
Okay.
He's putting those shows together, and he had like Daryl, I can't think of JT.
Okay.
And there was a bunch of other cats from Richland. So I ended up linking up with him. Real Life Entertainment, you know what I mean? That was his label. And I guess like he had been doing like some of my people wrong, you know? Like once I linked up with him, you know, it just felt like for me, like everything shifted, because everything was cool when I was rocking with everybody, you know? Everything was cool. But when I started linking with him, you know, everything shifted, you know? And I was just like, for me, it just felt weird, because it was like, okay, I met somebody who's can open some doors up, and it has been, you know, so why isn't anybody happy for me, type of thing. And but in reality, I guess that he was like doing them wrong of some sort of, like, I don't know what it was, like maybe show wise, maybe money or something. I don't know the full length of that, of what was going on behind the scenes before I was even involved with him. But then after I got involved with him, it just seemed like people started taking shots at him. And it's just like, you know, I was still kicking it with Fire Squad, everybody, you know, those are my people, like family. It's like, man, why are you guys, you know, Dom, why are you guys shooting shots at him? And by now I'm like already in Seattle, like me and him live together, you know what I mean? So he's like my full on manager now. And like, they're just shooting shots at him, like, oh yeah, Jeff's got this and that, making tracks on him. And I'm just like, I hit up bro, and I was like, bro, come on, man. Like, why are you shooting shots at bro? Like, you know, that makes me look weak or something. And he's asking me, like, you're not finna defend me, bro? Like, I'm rocking with you. I'm getting you shows in Seattle. Like, he was really helping me out and getting me out there in Seattle, like, for real. So I felt like, dang, like, you guys can't put whatever you got aside for what I'm doing right now. So, I don't know, Dom had made this one diss about him, you know, and I listened to it. And this is probably like 4 or 5 disses later, after he didn't diss him like 4 or 5 times. He don't even rap. So I was like, all right, man, like, You know what? I put on that Tyga Make It Nasty beat. Yep, and then I bumped that beat, and then I was just like, boom, came up with the diss called Diamonds Ashy. And yeah, that was like, and I ain't gonna lie, I snapped on that. And that was the only diss song I made, I think. I might have made one more, and you know, it was a shot at C-Ray because him and C-Ray had beef too. You know, C-Ray was saying stuff, so I made a diss on Dom. Then I dropped like one line about C-Ray. And then Jay, Nasty Notes, had made a diss on Firing Squad, you know what I mean? Then they made one back. But, yeah, that's how that happened, bro. It had nothing to do with me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
None.
Man, that's crazy because, like, all of these artists that you're mentioning are all pretty prolific in their own right. Like, they got catalogs, they got a lot of music history. And just to hear that you guys were so heavy on the red button back then, it just, if it was to happen today, it would be chaotic, you know, with just how far people have come. So it's really cool to hear that early on, like even with my story, you know, it was fun. Like even if it was like a little bit aggressive, it was still fun because like you and Dom are family, you know what I'm saying? So the fact that you had to do that just to get him to back off, you know, that also speaks to your character, your loyalty, and how you just keep it 100, because nobody's ever going to question your motivation. You know what I'm saying? I feel like if my heart's in the right place, then history will tell the story that it needs to tell. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I don't like the beef thing, man. I think that it's fun to kind of like put people in their place, but for it to be a continuous thing where it never ends, I don't like that sort of thing, because it's kind of reminds me of like violence, you know? You know, when someone beats you up, you go beat them up, and then it just continues to go on. Yeah. But since we're talking about beef, I want to get your opinion on the biggest beef, the greatest beef that happened in rap, in my opinion, since Jay and Nas, because that was classic and legendary. But the Kendrick and Drake beef, man, I want to know what your thoughts, because you're an MC, man. So I now that I got you right here, I want to see what your opinion is on the whole thing, like from beginning to end. What were you thinking when you heard that first push-ups, and then when you heard Euphoria, like? Because I'll follow up with what I was, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I think, honestly, like, I thought Drake was about to get him, bro. Like, on everything I love, man. Because I know Drake's pen, what he did to Meek. And Meek Mill was, like, one of my favorites at that time. So for him to dust him off the way he did and have him, like, stumbling, like, is this your world's tour or your girls tour? I was like, damn. But I thought Drake was edging him all the way through it. Like, I was listening to some of Kendrick's stuff. Like, his style is different. Like, I love some of his hits and everything, but like his style was just a little different for me, you know. Preference style, I like how Drake puts his stuff together, like lyrically and stuff, how he's always done it for years, you know. But when Kendrick went Compton, that did it for me. I did it for everybody. But when he took it back to the roots, Mustard on the beat, when I heard Mustard on the beat, I'm getting chills. That's when I knew it was lights out. I didn't even have to hear the rest of the song. Mustard on that beat, yo, I was like, oh, bro, it's over. I was like, wait, play that back again. I ran it back 100 times, but I honestly thought Drake was going to get him. Drake kind of got a little bit lighter as it got closer to that song, to Not Like Us. He was like, I don't know if he was running out of like information. He was hitting them, but Kendrick started like getting strategic with his bars and what he was saying. Drake started going for family and doing all this other stuff. Kendrick was like direct shots, and then started hitting at his crew and stuff. And I was like, bro, like, he's hitting you and your crew, and you're going for like him, his family, like baby mama stuff. Like, you're like, now you're kind of reaching a little bit, you know. But Kendrick pulled it in, bro, and just snapped.
I got him, man. And you know what I noticed too is that Drake approached it like it was just a regular rap battle.
Yeah.
And Kendrick approached it like it was an album. You know, he made a whole movie out of it. It was cinematical. He even foreshadowed what he was gonna do from the beginning, right? He baited Drake in with the Future song.
Yeah, he
like
did.
That.
Yeah.
You know, when he came out and he said, like, man, motherfuck the big three. It's just
Big Me, fire.
Like literally, he went light with that, right? But
Very
it was
light.
enough because he knew that they were waiting. They did first person shooter because they thought that was gonna get Kendrick out of hiding.
Yeah.
But the thing that got Kendrick out of hiding was when he heard that Drake was digging for dirt.
Yep.
He was dropping money in the hood to get information on Kendrick. And his
Crazy.
guys were coming back empty-handed after spending thousands of dollars with people who just gave him goose eggs. Because someone like Kendrick is very guarded.
Yeah, he is.
You know, he's very protected.
Yeah, he is.
Because when you're the chosen one, where you come from a place where a lot of people don't fucking make it out, you're gonna be protected.
Yeah.
And also, he doesn't give you enough for you
Yeah.
to run with.
No.
Like the things that Drake used to made fun of, he had to hear it on an album. Mr. Morale.
Right.
Or even Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah.
Where these are very vulnerable, like diary entries where Kendrick is being honest about infidelity and sleeping with white women.
Right,
And
yeah.
like, you know, these things that Drake thinks he's got him. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I got you.
Right.
But the things that you think are funny or your fan base thinks are funny because you don't listen to a Kendrick album
Exactly.
is going to make you guys look silly in the long run.
Yep.
Because he tried to poke fun at Kendrick saying that he got molested when he totally misunderstood the song. And then he tried to make fun of his aunt who was transgender, totally at a bad taste.
Yeah.
And just made it look like Drake was a very nasty person.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yep.
And Kendrick always played it close. You know, he only revealed what he needed to, and when he did it in a sophisticated kind of way.
Yeah.
Even like on Meet the Grams when he's talking to Adonis.
Yeah.
You know, he's not disrespecting the child.
No, that was hard.
He's actually showing love to the child.
Yeah.
And saying like, I'll be there for you. My music will help you grow because your fathers can.
Whew.
And that's got to be one of the lowest blows that could hit the soul. Because
Yeah.
someone like Drake has been hiring photographers to catch them at the ball game, so it
Yeah.
looks like he's a good dad.
Yep.
You know, he took a page out of Jay-Z's book where Jay-Z will hire the paparazzi at all these
Yeah.
special moments and stuff. Shout out to Hope. But Kendrick is somebody who really lives this life.
Yeah.
I remember the reason why Drake did the song Push-Ups was because Kendrick, about a year and a half before all the battle stuff, like it was like after Mr. Morale, I believe, in that time period, Kendrick started posting videos on a Finsta, which is like a fake Insta, right?
Wow.
Where he was doing push-ups he was doing burpees in the park, and he was just doing a bunch of real shit.
Yeah.
Like he was buying bootlegs at Jordans at the swap meet, and like so. So Drake sees this and he decides it's time to poke fun at this guy. So that's where the whole push-ups thing comes from.
Yeah.
Doing push-ups in the park, right?
That's wild.
But the reason why Kendrick was doing all this stuff was because he was getting his mind right because he was going to go to war.
That's smart.
You don't mess with somebody who is just not fully right.
Yeah.
And Kendrick's mental health has always been shifty.
Yeah.
Because he tells you since the beginning of his career that he's the good kid in the mad city. He talks about all the gang violence and how he got convinced to do all these B&Es with the homies and then, you know, Shireen having, you know, her people beat him up. And so he's lived a very post-traumatic stress type of life. And Drake, the only stress that he's really had was when they stuck him up for his chains when he was at the Chinese restaurant,
Yeah.
which Kendrick talked about the Chinese restaurant. You know what I'm saying?
See?
And then he talks about the shit that you did will make Gunna like
Yeah.
blush. You know what I'm saying?
Dang.
The way he came at
Yeah.
it. See, Drake is like, I study battle rap. But Kendrick actually came at it like he was
a battle rapper, yeah.
And he was too, right?
Yeah, Drake's just been to like all the Smack DVD battles and he's watched those, and you know, he rocks with some of the artists and everything that are from that. But it's one thing to watch it and it's another thing to actually live it and
Speak
do
on
it.
it.
You know what I mean?
Speaking of the battle scene, man, we both have a little bit of history when it comes to the battle world. We've even gone toe to toe a few times. I remember we were at a house party one time, and they were putting money on us.
Yeah,
you remember that?
Yeah.
And I rember I won like $40, right? But then I broke it down with the team real quick, and I just thought to myself like Jabari's the homie. He knows. We both went light. We both went light on each other because you already know.
Yeah.
Like if we wanted to go Goku and Vegeta,
there
would have been no fucking wall standing in that place because they would have been crazy. Because this the way that we take it lyrically, everybody would have been going crazy.
Yeah.
But you know, we were partying, drinking, or whatever. You know, back when we were younger men and used to party more. You'd be proud of me. I'm actually clean and sober, right? Since the New Year's. And what I do is I'll take a time period where I'll stop smoking or I'll stop drinking, and I'll just get my mind right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's not to say that I'll never have like another drink. I might celebrate some, on a birthday or something. But this year, 100% want to be clear-minded, because there's going to be a lot of big things happening this year. And I always feel like if you have your talent and your preparation, good luck can happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the battle scene.
Yeah.
There was a battle league in the Tri-Cities. I forgot what it was called, but I think I seen a couple battles that you did. And then I also did some for the High Noon battle.
No, I didn't do any. I was there. I was just reffing, basically.
Oh, okay. So you were like aficionado.
Yeah, what I wanted to do. And on the battle we did, I was in your turf too. Let's keep it a buck. I was on your turf, so you know what I mean. I didn't have nobody really with me, so.
Hey, to be fair, I didn't know anybody in that place either. No, there was a couple cats I went to high school with, but me, I was crashing parties left and right. I mean, I would go to Road 68 and I would be surrounded by Lean and all his homies, and I would, it would be the same sort of story. But I felt like I was just always lucky because I would catch people. I'm real freestyle, stream of conscious. I don't have to plan things, and I kind of feed off the energy of what's going on. So back then, I used to get the best out of a lot of people, but even I always wanted a rematch with you, and we might have to do that here pretty soon too.
Yeah.
We might even do it on the stream now. But like I said, me and you have always been like respectable rivals.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And you might have not done the battle scene, but you were a big part of what was going on. And I think that the Tri-Cities was always trying to form itself. Like, it was trying to find its identity. And the thing that really separated the Tri-Cities from doing that was the different groups, the different cliques, the different ages. And also, like we were saying, the older generation had a tougher time to get it together, so they didn't want to just easily give up their spots, right? But when artists like me and you came through with Young Riders and the Hard Hitters, we were really able to set the platform for people to come on later and do their thing so easily and effortlessly. When I want to ask you, do you have some favorite artists from the Northwest Tri-Cities 509 that you want to give some spotlight to?
Well, definitely shout out Firing Squad. They were definitely, back then doing their thing. They had their own lane. They came on the rap scene, and the way they did their set, Dickles and Z was fire. And even with Gina, my OG, she was dope too. And man, it almost went blank right now. Dead Rabbits. Gotta shout out Dead Rabbits. They were opening up the door at the Rock Reactor.
That's right.
G Team, Ransav Longati. You know what I'm saying? Fire, super fire. You know what I mean? One
of the best duos.
Yeah, one of the best duos. You know what I mean? Dom, Mob Click days. You know what I'm saying? Dom Primo. The thing about Primo, he's always had the ism. He's always had this.
He's the X Factor.
Yeah, he's had this special thing about him that nobody else had, and he was very unique, and he embraced who he was, and that's why he shined, heavily out here. He can come up and do a song and it'll just be different. He would be like the ODB of the tribe back, you know what I mean? Just that style. Yeah, the mayor type. You, of course, you know what I mean?
Appreciate you, man.
You've been out here from Bowser Vic days, you know what I'm saying?
They don't even know. Yeah, that's crazy.
Fire. Baridi, he's filthy right now. You know what I mean? Man, who else, man? I mean, I don't really from back then, those are the guys that I really knew majority. Right now, if you'd ask me, I see a few Barry, that's who in Flare, Misdemeanor's doing his thing right now. But I really don't, Who
are you making music with now?
Me?
Yeah, are you collaborating with
I'm doing it by myself right now, man.
Oh, you're focusing mainly on
yourself. On me, man. It was Dross Apostles, me and John, and then our homeboy Suavecito, Vince. But after that season, I started to focus on me, because I had to work on what I had, my purpose and my story, and my testimony had to come out, So I've just been doing me, bro. Buying my beats, recording myself, and staying in my lane. I just got married and everything, so I've just been
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I've just been zoned out, bro. I'm not listening to anything that's not Christian, that has nothing to do with God. Yeah, I'm tunnel vision, bro, because soon as I get caught up in who say or rap and this and that, shout out to everybody that's doing music right now in Tri-Cities who's still doing shows and all that. Shout out. But I had my time.
You have a different purpose.
Yeah, my purpose is different now. I did that when I was in from 15 to like 26, maybe up until 28. Did all of that, you know what I mean? No offense to anybody, no disrespect to nobody, but I've already done that, bro. I live that lifestyle. You know, I got kids, and I have to show them that there is a different way to live, you know what I mean?
100%.
And I love the fact that they can listen to my music and get motivated from it. I used to make music that would I want them to listen to it right now? No. Would I want them to sing the lyrics? No. Now they can sing the lyrics, they can feel empowered, they can go follow God. So it's like, if you were to ask me who do you bump right now in the Tri-Cities, nobody from Tri-Cities, unless they're doing something that has anything to do with God. Like, keep it real.
Okay, yes, this is a perfect segue, man. Thank you. I want to get into the story about how the crossroads, like everything leading up to the crossroads, because when I allowed God to enter my life, I had been at the darkest moment that I had ever been in, and I was changing into a darker, more negative person, more self-destructive. You know, I was doing all sorts of drugs. I mean, I was hanging out with the wrong people, wrong women, you know, getting as far away from my family as possible, moving in with people that didn't charge me for rent, but I had to bring the party every night. It was that kind of thing. I didn't realize that I was like signing a contract, so to speak, with evil. And I had a moment where it all hit me, like an epiphany. It was like it was weird. Like if you've seen Dragon Ball Z, where you get like a sense of somebody's power level pulling up. It was like that kind of moment where you felt like evil was in the room. And I remember to this day, I called my mom up and I said, "Hey mom, I want to move back." And this was my early 20s. I said, "I want to move back." And she's like, "Oh, okay, weird. Is everything okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I just want to move back. I want to be close to you guys." So I moved back home, and not even after being home for a couple of days, I started having a mental breakdown because of all the things that were in my system. But I also felt like there was a tug of war going on for my soul, from good and evil. And I'll open more about that story up when I write my book. So I'm going to do a book, and I'm going to do an audio book too, because I know a lot of people, you know, they don't have time to sit and read. So I'm going to do that in my own voice, get the dividends, you know what I'm saying? But that's my story and my crossroads. I'm curious about where you were at and where you were at, how you got to where you are now. Can you paint that picture for us?
Yeah, man. So, it happened when, like, because I was going to Seattle a lot, back and forth to Seattle so much. And I wouldn't say it was like an identity crisis type of thing, but I just knew that, you know, the way I was living stopped working out. It wasn't fun anymore. Like, it got to the point to where, you know, I wasn't in my kid's life like I should have been. Like, I wasn't being the father that, you know, they could have right there with them. You know, I was like living in Seattle, my daughter was living in Spokane, my son was living in Colorado. You know what I mean? So we're all three stretched out, and like every day, like I would say I went through a depression state of mind because I didn't have them. I felt like I was nothing. I didn't have my license, I didn't have a car, I didn't have anything, you know. And when I moved back to the Tri, I didn't have anything. I moved back to the Tri to get my license and do all of that stuff. But before that, I went to a depressive state of mind to where, you know, I was trapping, I was drinking, I was kicking it, partying, I was working, always had a job, you know what I mean? But I wasn't being like, it wasn't worth it because like I was doing so many other things that would just keep me back dead even. I wasn't like profiting from what I was doing because like my mind, my mental wasn't there. And I was always thinking like, man, like if I get caught or if this, honestly, I didn't even care if anything like that happened because I was ready to throw it all away. I was ready to do whatever it took. However, like if I needed to dust somebody off, he would have been dusted on the spot. Like it didn't even matter. Like I was to that point to where I was just living recklessly. Like I was trying to be strategic, but I was just didn't care, bro. I was ready to give it up. I didn't have my kids. They weren't with me. So it was like, you know, I was just like, well, you know. And then in the back of my mind, bro, there's so many nights I cried. One thing I kept doing was praying, bro, which is crazy. I kept praying. Like, I would pray, then I would go out, kick it, turn up, you know what I'm saying, come home, I started feeling convicted, like, started feeling guilty. I started seeing my kids' faces, and I started seeing, like, man, if I were to die today, like, how would that impact them? I would never get to see how they live their life, and that might have been the most negative thing that could happen to either one of them. And that right there is what kept me thinking, like, okay, I have to change. I have to fight. I have to hold on. If I'm not going to do it for me, I need to do it for them. Like, they need me, but they don't need this me. So when I was in Seattle, you know, I was trying to get it together. I was basically working out the kinks. I went through a purging system to where, like, I had to earn a way to get a car. When I lived with my dad, he just didn't give it to me. I had to catch the bus from Sumner to Federal Way, or Sumner to Federal Way. And that bus ride out there is like way longer than these little 20-minute bus rides here. So I'm catching the bus, and I'm working until like 3, 4, 5 in the morning, from like 4 at night, you know, loading up trucks on the forklift and doing all this other stuff. And then I'm getting a ride to the bus station to where I can catch the bus home. And I'm coming home at, like, by the time I get home, it's like 8 or 9, you know what I'm saying? Sunshine out, and I have to walk a mile from the bus stop to get to my dad's house. So I would get there, I'd go home, take a shower, lay down, wake up at like 4 or 5, start the night, go catch the bus. I was doing that for so long, bro, and like that honestly built up. That kept me strong. You know, I ended up getting a car, but I was driving dirty. But I wasn't still doing what I needed to do, bro. So the shift happened when I came back to try. I came to see my daughter. She came to stay with my mom for a little bit, for like 2 weeks, and I came to stay for the weekend. You know, I had a job. You know, this is when I was making like $23 where I was at, and this is before $23. $23 was a lot back then. And so I go to see my daughter. The weekend's up, you know what I mean? It's time for me to go back home. I'm looking at my daughter, you know what I mean? I'm just like, I'll see you again, I promise, da 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 da. I end up staying in Tricities. You know, I made that decision right on the spot. You know what, I'm staying here. I'm finna be with my daughter for a week, and I'm finna figure it out. So the big shift happened when I went out, you know what I'm saying? I got faded, of course. And then I was with some people, and then someone I was with, you know, was just a little out of control. You know, the security had to walk him back to his vehicle. And mind you, I had a blow and go. I had already did all the things, you know, by this time I had did all the things to where I could drive, but I had a blow and go, and I wasn't supposed to be driving. I had committed to driving his vehicle at the end of the night, you know what I'm saying, if we needed, and I had drove us there, I believe. But, you know, this is how God works. Like, we were all leaving, but he was just out of control. The security literally walks him to the car and watches him leave, to where I'm like super lit and I didn't have to drive. And he drove. He ends up getting in an accident of some sort, you know what I mean? And freaking, I hear about it, you know, I end up getting picked up, and I hear about it hours later, and I'm just like, what? And I'm just thinking, like, man, what if I was in there? I probably would have been driving. I could have died or something like that. It could have been me. After that night, man, I end up going and getting my vehicle. I end up blowing in my vehicle, and I'm still under the influence, so I can't even drive it. I end up getting a ride back, and I get a penalty on the blow and go, to where I have to get 3 more months added on. Yep. And from that, so that weekend when I blew, I already knew that I didn't know I was gonna get 3 more months, but I was just like, man, I hope this doesn't count against me, you know. But it did. So that weekend, you know, the next day, you know, I just was like, I'm done. I was like, I'm done. I'm tired of this. I grabbed my cigarettes, crunched them up, threw my weed pipe out, threw all my weed out, everything, threw it out, and then went to church the next day. I prayed that night, went to church the next day, and then that's when I never stopped going to church from that day forward.
Wow, man. I know that feeling. I know that feeling where you need to immediately get rid of everything. Wash your hands clean of it. And then the church was waiting for you. God opened his arms and embraced you fully. What can you say to people who are hesitant about stepping forth and maybe opening their mind and their heart to the Lord?
I agree with you guys. It's scary. You don't know what it's like stepping through the door, what's on the other side of that door. But you've tried everything else. You've tried weed, you've tried girls, you've tried drink, and you tried drowning your sorrows. None of that worked. You tried everything to fill that empty void, and nothing filled it. Why not try God and see what happens? Like, he has nothing bad for you. Everything in his Bible is something for us. Like, it's always something like good that comes out of it. Every storm we go through is preparation for our next season, so we don't fail. He wants to equip us during the storm, because if we don't go through troubles, if we're not tested, how is he going to know that we can be, we can be trusted in this next season with what he has for us? You know what I mean? Like, say for instance, if I didn't go through this whole singleness and, really building up, learning how to be a husband right now, I wouldn't be the best husband. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have that mindset because I wasn't tested. I didn't go through the trials, the tribulations. So now it's like, okay, I've done research and I know how to be that man of God and that husband now. So like, if you're trying to get to that point, give God a chance. Don't do it for anybody else. Don't ask anybody. Go pray yourself, go to church and see what happens. Like, and I guarantee you, I prayed this prayer. I was like, God, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put 100% in. But if this don't work, I'm going back. I don't even care. But I'm going to try you. I'm going to try you. And, ever since then, saying that prayer, like, I'm going to try you, I'm putting my all in. And I continue to put my all in. Bro, I haven't turned back, bro. Like, at all.
The signs that you get are a true blessing, because it lets you know that you're not alone, that you're actually being watched by the divine spirit on your path and your journey. Do you have any signs that were kind of like the arrow to keep moving in the direction that you were moving?
Absolutely, bro. Like, when I went to the church, and so things started to align. Once I gave my life back to God, I had called Isaac Butts. I had called him on the phone and I was like, bro, I'm back in the church. I gave my life back, and whatnot. He was like, all right, let me call John real quick. Have you talked to him? And I was like, nah, man, I haven't. And then so I called John and John called me, you know what I mean? And I was like, what's up, bro? And he was like, man, Isaac just told me that, you gave your life back to God and everything. I was like, yeah, bro, I did and whatnot. And he was like, all right, well, I'm going to come get you. Can I come get you and take you to youth service? So he took me, right? Isaac is the pastor, the youth pastor there. And he preaches, to his youth. And I'm sitting there watching and I'm looking at what God did for him. Because I remember Isaac, he went through some things, you know what I mean, at certain times in his life, to where now I'm like, I'm seeing the fruits that God had for him making that decision. And I'm just like, damn, like, I want that for me. I wonder what that would look like for me. Like, he's happy, he's married, he's doing well, he's a youth pastor, like, he has youth that are doing good, like, and I'm just like, dang, God, like, what are you showing me, that sign, man. So long story short, Dross Apostles ends up happening. Like, I had given up music at one point. I was like, I'm done with music, I'm gonna just focus on God. God, that's it. I don't even know how to make music for you. Shoot, man, John, that night, on the way home, he's like, hey, I can either drop you off or you can go to my house and we can do a song. And I was just like, I don't know, bro. I don't know if I'm ready, because I didn't want to be that 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I do a song for God and then I go back to smoking or any of that. And in that moment, I didn't answer. So John ends up, we go to his house, and that's when, we made the first song of the Dross Apostles. And that song was my testimony, you know what I mean, basically. And that was the signs for me leading up to, even to the music portion of it. Like, those were signs. And as I'm going and I'm praying, like, things are changing inside of me. I don't want to kick it with nobody anymore. The signs that I was getting was like, they were more of confirmations of like the decision I made. I just stopped, people stopped reaching out. Things started happening. Like, I didn't want to do none of the things. I didn't want to be around anybody. Like, just things around me started shifting, and God replaced the old with the new, and it just started formulating, bro. It was crazy.
You saw that it was possible to keep the same sort of like feeling when you used to make the music that you did in the past, where that excited you and made you feel like the endorphins, you know, like you could make that about faith. And I always liked how me and you could make music that was a bit edgy, but it was us. And I seen that that's what you still do. You approach the music in a way, and it's funny too, because I'll be on like TikTok or Reels, and I'll see like certain Christian artists who are pretty much taking the things that are popular now, and they're just switching the content out. You know, they'll have sometimes you might even hear them over a drill beat, like,
yeah,
like damn,
yeah.
But they're rapping about faith, and it makes me wonder if, like, the message is good, right? Mm-hmm. But you're still getting those vibrations. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the 808s, and if you know about frequencies and vibrations, I wonder if that taints the message in a sense. So, with that being said, when you create music, you're very mindful of like the vibrations and the like what you're putting out there, right? So I listened to your new single. Was it Rain on Me?
Rain Down.
Rain Down. Okay, that's my favorite one that I've heard.
Thank you.
I have my other favorite ones from back in the day.
Yeah.
But this is like the new era. This is my favorite one that I've heard, and I hear the songwriting, I hear the cadences, and you're just as sharp as you've ever been.
Thank you.
You know how to write hooks. You know how to write verses. You are a very dangerous man in that world. I mean, Lecrae and NF, all these guys, they better watch out because because you are very tested as far as a lyrical MC goes, but also now that you're moving into this space, it's not like you threw away all the mechanisms of the past.
Right.
You know, you know very well how to be that same artist. It's just that you have a different spirit flowing through you now.
Absolutely.
So, do you feel, with the new music that you're making, do you feel the same kind of curiosity that you had when you were a young artist, where you feel like you can continue to move in this path and ideas will never dry up and there'll always just be some part of a bigger picture to paint, like where you're putting the corners together to make this big picture? Do you see like a whole universe of the music that you can make in this space, in this realm?
That's a good question, man. It's tough because like now it's different. It's not like, you know, I could smoke weed and just whatever comes to my mind, I'm just say. Yeah. You know, now it's like I pray. You know, I pray before sessions. I'm praying like, God, you know, give me the words to say. Use me as a vessel. So I'm going to God first. And sometimes there's dry spells when there's nothing coming to me. And, you know, it's a humbling reminder that I need to go to the King first before I try to go to anybody else, you know. And now it's like once I go to him, it's like when the Rain Down beat played, like my stepson recorded that song, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, bro. He recorded that. Like, I mean, we both have studios, but I used like some of his stuff. But he recorded that, bro. And I just like, I don't know. I felt the Holy Spirit. I felt all the goosebumps and everything. And just like,
that's a special one. That song.
That one is special, bro. That's like one of my favorites too. The way it came together, it was just like, I don't even know how to explain it, bro. It was like, it wasn't like I seen the whole universe. It was like I seen step by step how to put this together. Yeah. Like it was like, here's this piece, here's this piece, here's this piece. All he did was record. I didn't even write that one, bro. Like we just went in and just punched in, drop the hook, and came back and dubbed the hook, and then just drop. So now it's like unless I write it, there's songs that I've wrote out, and like when it just flows like, and everything comes to my mind. It just literally like a download. It's almost the same as back then, but it's it's like strategic. It's like completely there's a purpose behind what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
It's like there's intentions. That's it. Back then I was just making music, bro. We could rap about weed, we could rap about girls, we could rap about all these. The topic can be about winning, and we have so many layers of winning to where we could say whatever, you know what I mean? Now it's like if the topic is rain down, then there has to be specifics about why is it raining down, what does rain down have to do with it, and now everything comes together to where it's like, okay, this is rain down. When the praises go up, blessings rain down. Why are we sending praises up? It's like everything has to make sense now. And God just literally drops it on me step by step.
It just comes naturally because of where you're at now.
Yeah.
Your antennas are up, and you're tuned into the right frequency from the Lord.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to ask you a question, but I want to ask it in the most respectful way. Recently, we had a conversation where we had planned to do this podcast for a while now. Even record a song.
Yeah.
But then something happened with mutual friends.
Yeah.
And I won't say any names because, you know, I think this is about me and you. And what came to question was your faith. And basically, to give a little bit of a background without saying too much, artist A showed you a song where your name was dropped, and basically was trying to paint you as one of those artists that only profit off of the Lord.
Yeah. And
then artist B who showed you, or artist A showed you that artist B, I'm confusing myself, without saying names, I get roped into this. And it looks as if I am almost like a bad actor in a sense where I have hidden motivation or something along those lines, right? Because of a post that I made a year and a half ago about somebody else.
Crazy.
And what that post was about was this person who I'm talking about blatantly got in trouble, like in front of the whole world. They vanished. They came back, and now they were dropping Christian music, right? And then it's all about money for that person. And they're still joking around the same way that they had, you know, dark humor, being really offensive to people. And it just seemed like they're the same person that they were before they got in trouble, but now they're benefiting off of making music for the Lord, right? So that post, which was ambiguous because I don't just drop people's name and post because it's Facebook, you know, like whatever, you know, it's like a diary post or whatever, right? But that paired with the song, it made it look a certain way. And I'm so happy that we got a chance to talk about that.
Yeah.
And you also got to see, you know, who I am. Yeah. Because it made you probably question, like, do I really know this guy? You know, because like I've been around people who wanted the best for me, but that was a front. Yeah. You know, so there's always that sort of question. Yeah. But I want you to kind of talk about your idea of what these false prophets or like these profit for pay sort of people are, and how they give a bad name for the real followers and the people who just want to have that connection and don't care to monetize in any sense. If the money comes, then that's a blessing. Right. But this is not what you're in it for. Sort of deal. So I know that's kind of like a loaded sort of thing without revealing too much, but I kind of want you to navigate us. Yeah, I love that, man. False prophets ain't nothing new. You know, there's nothing new that's been done under the sun. You know what I mean? So how I feel about false prophets is the truth will come to light eventually. You can't wear a mask forever. At one point in time, you're going to end up having to take that mask off, and the truth will come out. It'll reveal itself, and God will expose you and reveal who you truly are. So over time, that will happen. You know, that situation, it definitely threw me off because I was just like, man, you know, this is a random and buddy who used my name. I was just like, that's crazy because, you know, he don't even know me. And that's, you know, that's what you call persecution. And I got to expect that. He was the only person that I know that's been bold about it, that made a song. And somebody else had showed me that too, other than artist A too. After the fact of after that situation, someone else was like, and I was like, yeah, we got to pray for him. But I know that was a test. Yeah.
I know that was a test, like,
because it was so random.
It was random, and it was at a point to where it was a perfect timing for me to make a decision. Like, oh, should I just go ham on Buddy right now? Like, I know I can. I got the studio right there. I know I can come up with something fast. You know what I mean? And I was just like, or is this something where I need to be mindful of what I'm doing and where I'm going in life? What if this is a test of like, okay, it's still in you. If I had went and made a diss, then boom, everybody would be like, see, we told you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I knew he wasn't about that. Like,
it would have affected the credibility of
exactly.
Your
yeah, it would have took the power out of my testimony, man. So I was just like, okay, it rubbed me wrong, but I let it go because I was just like, and then for me to come at you, you know, and put it on you wasn't all the way right either, because like you had nothing to do with it. It's just artist A felt some type of way about how you weren't, or whatever it was that was going on. And then I was just like, dang, like, so ultimately, like, to navigate that moment, you know, I had to move out of the situation and take a step back and go in prayer and get myself right. You know, this is that moment of like going to the closet with God, humbling myself and praying about it before I make any hasteful decisions and react like I was back then, because it's like just because I changed my life don't mean like that person who I was isn't gone. Right. He's always going to be there. As long as I'm in this skin, like in this flesh, there's always going to be sin tied to it. You know, it's just how we move through it and who we depend on. So like one thing that false prophets and people without the Holy Spirit will do, conviction, is when you have the Holy Spirit, when you feel guilty about doing things like that. So I felt guilty for having these thoughts of wanting to drop a diss and coming at you. Like I felt convicted and I felt wrong, and I apologize to you, right? If I believe, if I'm correct, or however I said it, but I felt some type of way because I didn't feel it was right.
I felt some type of way about being involved, just because like I knew what our relationship always was, and then this artist on artist B or artist A, both of them actually were from my tree. They're from my influence tree, right? So it really caught me off guard because like I asked myself, am I being used as some sort of like battering ram? And if that's the case, then what's behind this? What is the motivation for me to become a target in this sense, right? Because even though you were the one who was the target, I also was a target too. Because I'm doing my podcast, I'm making music, I'm not mentioning no artists, because I'm very much like you, trying to focus on my path, right? And also too, I'm somebody who tries to be very well-natured and give people opportunities and share my platforms. So when people decide to act out of character and turn their back on me too, that really is a mystery to me, because it makes me wonder what spirits are at play.
Exactly.
Like, for example, I don't believe that people are evil, but I believe they have moments where evil can possess them.
Exactly.
And can cause them to do actions that will destroy their bridges and their lives even. And I don't want to burn bridges with people because of the way that they mischaracterized me. But I will, like you say, history and time will tell. I want them to be present. So they can see the mistakes that they've made. And that's why I don't block people when they do these kind of things, because they have to see. They got to be right there in the front row. But I know you well enough to know that you're a person who might get affected by something, but you'll take time, you'll look at the situation, and then you'll assess it and come back and be like, okay, I think I know what's really going on here. And that's exactly what you did. And I'm very happy about that, because one of the people that I wanted to record for the podcast when we got into a studio was you, because I feel like our story is very similar, but you have a very unique personality and perspective that you can bring to the table when it comes to your path. So that's probably why I wanted to get your crossroads story and get you to not just glamorize the path, but also get gritty about it, because Like when you said that you were, there was nights where you cried. Shit, man. There was nights where I fucking bawled. And I'm stone cold. Like I don't show emotions, like, because our fathers sometimes pass down some traits.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My relationship with my dad was always tough. So having a daughter is the God's blessing for me, because if I would have had a little boy, maybe I would have been a little harsh. The same way that my dad was to me.
Right.
But having a daughter really softened my heart.
Yeah.
And it really changed the electricity that flows through me.
Yeah.
I don't feel that I have to be so aggressive and macho, because she allows me to be silly and goofy.
Right.
We just had the father-daughter ball on Friday, and she's a little superstar, man. She was out there and she started a little like a caboose train. All the little girls were all hands on the shoulders, and they were going through the whole dance. She's a little 7-year-old, and I was just thinking to myself, like, look, she's already still in the show. So God does something for us where he opens our eyes, and we look out the windows and we can see the world that exists outside of our ego.
Facts.
Did you have a moment where it was just like a death of ego, like where you absolutely killed that inside of you?
Yeah.
That person that sits on your shoulder and tries to get you to react emotionally and things of that nature. The death of ego.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Like during the Dross Apostle phase, the Christian rap group, that's when that ego started to die. And, at first the ego started to come out because you got 3 different guys, together. And there's so much pride going around, like within the group of like the leader and all these ideas and this, that, and the third. Like the focus wasn't solely on God, like it was more on like, how are we gonna, these shows are coming up. Like we're trying to fight for ideas, like whose idea was the best type thing. And it's just like, so going through that process, God like started to purge me. Like we had so many arguments and back and forth that people just don't know. When they seen us, we had figured it out and we were on stage, but behind the scenes, button heads, phone calls, hour-long phone calls. But after so many like phone calls of like when I felt wrong, when I had popped off and said so much, and then like I would hang up, we would hang up, and then like in instant conviction, bro. Like literally there was times I would cry after arguments and was like, why am I crying right now? And God would just show me like the love that these guys have for me, and my pride and ego couldn't see that, and that's when I would call back like, hey bro, my apologies for that. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have, I was wrong for that. And there were so many times that happened to where, I wasn't the one calling back and apologizing anymore. Like it got to the point of like, I knew how to navigate these heavy moments now. Cause it's like, let me pull back from being like offensive or getting defensive. And these are my brothers, disagreements are gonna happen. It's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's about what are we doing this for? And, what does God say about the situation? So that at that moment, that's how like my ego was just done. Like I was at the end of our group session, I started getting closer to God, and I started to realize like, it's not even about me. It's not even about them. It's about God. And, if the pride comes before the fall, so if I continue to be prideful and all of that, then people are going to see it, and I'm just going to expose myself of not being who I say I am. So I got humbled through that whole season, and literally like when my ankle Achilles was snapped, like I got humbled through that season too, and God just kept on chopping me down, because coming up, like we came up, bro, pride and ego was how we just got high back then. So
for real.
So it's like God had to like take all of that out, and it took a year, 2 years. It took like 2 years in order for me to be here 4 years later, to where it's like, what? I'm cool. Like it's not even about money. It's just like I wanted to get this message out and show people that
peace of mind.
And you can make godly music and it's still dope. You know what I mean? We don't have to rap about all of these things of the world to get to make a noise out here. Like we can talk about positive things that leads people the right direction, and it can still be dope. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And yeah.
Man, I love that, man, because you really help us see through your eyes the things that you were facing, and and how you're able to get through those things, man. And I want to ask you, you see the way that the world is going right now, and you see that the internet has played a big part in the divisiveness between people.
Yeah.
You've seen that the internet played a big part in a certain individual getting elected again.
Yeah.
I won't say his name. And you see like a culture war on the internet that's putting people against each other.
Yeah.
And right now we need to be united.
Exactly.
More than anything.
More than anything.
Do you see us figuring this out as a people? I know what the Bible says about the last of days. And I've heard many thought pieces, or think pieces rather, about the book of Revelations, and how a lot of things that are happening biblically around the world are reflecting around the world right now currently. Whether it's the October 7th Israel and Hamas terrorist situation, or even like right now with immigration, mass immigration. Do you have like, what are your thoughts on like where the world is, and what you're hoping, and what you, like a prayer, so to speak, for the way that the world is going? Like, give us some insight.
Man, right now, if we all just really take a step back and look at what's going on before we get on our keyboards and become keyboard typers and do all of that, take a step back and really look at what's going on. Look at the division that's been happening for the last 5 to 7 years. Everything that's come out has been to divide us, divide and conquer. And I believe that there's a right way to do everything. Sometimes things just happen and there's nothing that we can do because it's meant for it to be out of our control. But there's things that we can do that's in our control. And if we focus on what's in our control, I think that things would shift a lot more if we focus and come together as a people and really put aside our differences. Then I think things could look better. But ultimately, like, now's the time to really pray for our country, pray for the oppressed right now, like pray for our president, like pray that God softens his heart, gives him clarity to make right decisions and right choices for all of us. Pray for the culture right now, the Hispanics going through what they're going through. Like, certain things just I don't agree with being done the way they've been done. There's a right way to do it, and I don't feel like the right way has been done here. That's why whenever you see a protest, something ain't right. That means the people are affected by a choice that's been made, and it may not be the most righteous choice made. Sometimes people protest for things that may not be, the right thing to protest for because of whatever reason. But you got to look at why. Why is this happening? Why do people feel affected by this? For us to just sit there blind eye and not really look into it or pray for that situation, that just lets you know where your heart is. Like, oh, it ain't me.
Absolutely. You remind me right now of what I see online, and you see people of privilege, and not just like white people, but like you'll see Mexicans of privilege speaking about like, well, I'm a citizen, so I don't really care what happens to them. If they're illegal, get up out of here. But not knowing how much we all contribute to the fabric of America. It really reminds me of what you read in the history books of when people turned their back in Germany. In the 1940s, and when they did that, you started to see people turn their neighbors in, for monetary gain, and for them to maybe have an opportunity to get at someone else's job and things of that nature. So I've made it a big pledge of my life to really stand up and be the voice for people who don't have a voice.
Right.
I went to the protest today on Road 68, and man, it was incredible. It was like you were at a music festival because the music was so loud. There was burnouts. They were burning it, driving down the street. There was Mexican flags, American flags. The cops were out there chilling. It was a beautiful thing because we're peaceful people, and not just us, but immigrants of all kinds. Whether it's Somalia or Serbia or any kind of country, right? A lot of people come to America and they don't want to cause waves. They actually want to just assimilate into the culture and get the same benefits that everybody gets. So I think that we get too caught up in the fear mongering of the divisiveness and all the algorithmic plays. But I think that there's a lot of soullessness on the internet for people to consume. And that's what's really happening to people. People are starting to live in fear because of the pollution that's infiltrating their minds through the internet. I once heard that when we're online, our subconscious can be hacked. So we are more susceptible to being hypnotized by things like propaganda and brainwashing. And I think that that's happened to a lot of us because, I mean, up until recently, I'm not afraid to say this, but you know, I was a huge supporter of Joe Rogan. You know, I thought he was one of the greatest podcasters ever, right? But I noticed since COVID, he started making a more to the right slant, and then big fan of Elon Musk, same thing, slanting to the right, and it all started off with this anti-cancel culture, COVID, regulatory government stepping in. But what I did not realize is that it was looking as if they were starting to create a more galvanized, extreme side of politics, a more weaponized side, because billionaires are starting to go into this side. And then with that came a lot of the low-frequency grifters. They usually gravitate towards a political side, and they're the ones that you would call the more extreme, the extreme right or the extreme left. And what I started seeing is that on X, formerly known as Twitter, you started seeing more racist and hateful content that was starting to circulate on your For You streams or feeds rather. I was starting to see like anti-Semitic jokes and even like black jokes, Mexican jokes, and I was just thinking to myself, I'm not subscribing to this. Why is it being fed to me? And then that's when you realize that when Elon Musk bought Twitter, it was for a political reason. Nobody spends $44 billion for an app that was worth $8 billion at its peak, right? And he also got money from one of the richest people in Saudi Arabia to do so. And we already know that Saudi Arabia doesn't have the best record when it comes to human rights, right? So I stay tapped into these things because I need to be able to translate this information to my listeners, because I see things going on. I got to tell you what's around the corner, because if I could bring some insight to my people, then I hope that they can make some better decisions about what they consume. But I was getting caught in that wave, and I had some very smart women who appreciate me, who are just telling me you're starting to shift into the bro space and you need to pull back a little bit. And then they started breaking down things for me and showing me different optics, and just in time I was able to really shake the hypnosis off right before the election. And I'm gonna say that under different circumstances, Kamala could have been a great president. Under different circumstances. She was pushed into that situation, right? And then you have her going against imminent evil. And what it turned out to be is a spiritual battle on the political forum. So I didn't vote for anybody. And I felt like that was better for me because A, I wasn't really convinced one side or the other. And B, I could never vote for the extreme side because my mom, my dad, they would be crushed if they knew that that's what I did. So I didn't vote for personal gain or for any reason. I just decided not to vote. And a lot of people will say, well, you're a part of the problem for not voting. And I think that we have a right as human beings to pull ourselves out of any conversation in any situation. Not to blindly jump on one side or the other. I think that's part of the reason why we always end up in shit. Is because people feel like they have to make a decision out of fear. So fast forward to where we're at right now in the world. And I think that the way that you reverse these things is from the inside out. And what that means for me is not leaning into the fear and the hatred aspect of things, but looking to my neighbors and making sure they're okay. No matter what the color of their skin is, no matter what the content of whatever internet searches they have. Because I have friends right now that will tell you something and you'll be like, oh, that's off, buddy. Like, you're obviously like, spitting like political talking points. Like today, we had somebody who saw all of the protesting and they were like, I wonder what they're protesting. And I was just like, oh, really? That's the craziest thing that you could ever say. You wonder what they're protesting. He said, I think it's probably something to do with the Constitution. And I was just like, holy smokes. Like, what kind of algorithms are encapsulating you? Absolutely. But then you realize that some people don't ever have to face any real consequences for the world, for the things that they consume or the things they even say. So that's a big reason why I created Tory Talk. Tory Talk was supposed to be like my version of TED Talk. Okay, if you ever watched TED Talk, this was before like a lot of things became big on the internet. TED Talk was always like a summit where professionals in different industries would come and just share like interesting little tidbits about things that they felt were important. So when I brought it to my world, I said, the Northwest is my world. And I want to reach out to people who I've met and that I know and that I respect. And I want them to come and bring something unique about them for the world to listen to. I have listeners in many different countries. We have a lot of unique listeners per month because we've been doing this for 4 years. Or it's about to be 5 years because 2020 is when we started, right? I did this in the pandemic out of desperation. Because I don't know how you felt when the pandemic hit, but I felt like the world was closing in on me, My ex, me and her split up. I went and got my first apartment by myself. I got fired from a job. Then I went to go work at a parts store. So I took a huge pay decrease. But I just knew that I had to be able to make it work for my daughter's sake. And I trusted and I had faith. And the next thing you know, angels started popping up in the form of people that I knew in the past. And they would come into my life, they'd make it better, and then they'd leave. But they would go on to, have amazing lives and things of that nature. Like my buddy who got me in at my job that I have now, he was my homie from middle school. And he was one of the cool kids who was a football player, but he never treated me like I wasn't cool. So I felt comfortable to go work for him. Because anybody else, I don't know if I could work for somebody who went to school with me, and you know what I'm saying? Because maybe my ego would have made me think like, I'm not under nobody, you know what I'm saying? It's almost easier to go work for people you don't know. But this was a different story. And with him, I saw he had gone to prison, and he had lost his daughter when he was in prison. And he was able to change his life around and create a whole new life for himself. From being a felon that was able to get a job and then became a general manager for a store, and then moving on, and now he has a house over there in Iowa. Just amazing things. It just really was amazing how God will do it for you if you open your heart. Thank you so much for sharing the stories that you had with me today. I think that my listeners are going to know a lot. They're going to know you better after listening to the podcast, and they're going to be able to look into your music and anything they can find online.
Yeah.
I want you to give us let us know where we can find you on social media. Let us know the music to look out for.
Absolutely.
If you had 1 minute to get somebody acquainted with you and who you are, how would you do it?
I would definitely ask about them. I would see, where they see themselves in 5 years. Like, what's their plan for themselves? What's their purpose? Do they feel that, this is it? Say their purpose was just to be a manager. Do you feel that's it? Do you have any empty voids? I would want to see where they're at, because I take that opportunity to pour into them God, 100%, because man, without him, bro, with him, things are so much different than without him. Without him, I felt alone. With him, I feel like I have a community even when I'm by myself. It's solid. So if anybody wanted to know anything about me, man, pray. Yeah, absolutely. That's how I found myself. But shout outs, man. I got a project dropping next Friday. The reset, it's coming. You know, we all had that reset in life where we had to start fresh, start from scratch. You know, get some new tools, get some new resources, let go of the old, start new. You know, the reset. Yeah, that's fire. Thank you. Yeah, man, like, that's what I went through, you know what I mean? And that's why I'm here, because of a reset, because I had to start over and do it. Let go of all that stuff from back then and just go. So that's February 7th. It drops on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, any digital platform, Deezer, all those joints will have it, like, for sure. And of course, reels are going to be dropping. I'm going to continue that whole movement. Thank you. Yeah. TikTok as well. Yep. I thank you for reminding me. I haven't even uploaded that one reel to TikTok, but it will be uploaded tonight. Yeah. But yeah. So I dropped that song Victory that had JC Cardoza, that had Speaks, and that had Brother Honor from LOJ, Lion of Judah. So those two singles are the only singles I dropped, which was last Friday. I dropped the Rain Down one, and then so next week it'll be the project, you know, and after that there'll be some more stuff coming for sure. You know, I got a Christian artist who's pretty well known. He had the most features a few years ago. He was on Rapzilla and all of that. So that he's on the song with me on that project. I'll let everybody see. Actually, I'll give his name. You know what I mean? I'll give his name. So I have Zay Hill, a song with Zay Hill. So look into him. Shout out to Zay. You know, he tapped in with me, showed me how to navigate some of the Spotify platform and everything like that. And just, real good dude. So, Victory. Yeah, so the song Victory, man, it's basically exactly what it is, like the victory, bro. Like, we have the victory. When Jesus died on the cross and he was resurrected, like, he got the victory over death. You know, he went to hell, snatched the keys, and, you know, he got the victory. So because of his victory, we have victory. Because of his testimony, there's power in our testimony. So Victory is basically just a song that's standing on that type of business, on that type of time. Like, there's no way we can lose in life when we have God, bro. Imagine, you know, I imagine myself all the times when I felt at the lowest of lows. Even when I feel like everything's caving in right now, just because I know I have God, I don't feel like I'm ever going to lose again. I feel like I have the ultimate victory. Even when arguments, beef, disagreements, anything, it's like, I know if I go pray to God, it's going to be okay. Like, having that feeling of knowing no matter what storm comes, all I got to do is go and pray to God and give it to him, let go and let God. Bro, that's what I do. I let go and let God, and I have a great day. It don't matter what happened at work. Things irritate me. You know what I mean? I'm normal. I'm a human being, bro. Like, so it's not like I'm perfect and holier than thou. No, there be times when I want to be putting hands on people, you know, but that's not me. So it's like, I go to God. I really ultimately learned how to give it to him and how to utilize his victory that he gave us. And that's just by giving it to him and letting him have it. Like when I mentioned earlier, when things are out of your control, it's out of your control for a reason. Because if it was in our control, if we can handle all of our situations by ourselves, why would we need him? We wouldn't need him. That's why we need him, bro. Because these situations happen to where, okay, God, I can't do nothing with this situation at all, but I know you can. So I'm going to give this to you, and I'm going to just go about my day with this winning mindset, because I already know that you're going to take care of it. I don't know how it's going to happen.
Let go and let God.
Exactly. So that's victory, bro. That's victory in a nutshell.
It feels so good to know that you can leave your worries and woes with a divine power, and that you will be restored for it. Because I know what you mean, man. There's been times maybe dealing with some hard co-parenting situations, or jobs where people are coming for you, and you lose your job for whatever the reason. I know that every time that I've had something big happen to me in my life, if I internalized it, I would have health repercussions from it. But if I allowed to let it go and then almost carry on like I was a little crazy in the sense where I was not being affected by these things, but knowing that the Lord had plans for me, it changed my life, so I can really relate to the things you're saying. And that's the main reason why I wanted to get your story out there. You're somebody who definitely could show people a different aspect to what it looks like to be saved. And it's so funny, and I know it's so true and authentic, and it's you. It really is, because I remember, I think it was the Battle of the Bands at Joker's. I think that's where it was. Where we placed pretty high, if I remember correctly. I think we got like third place or something. Me and the hard hitters. And I remember seeing you. I think that it was that day, or if it wasn't that day, it was another time at Joker's. And I remember you pulled me to the side, and you said, "Bro, you don't have to make this kind of music. You don't have to make demonic music. You can give yourself to the Lord, and everything's gonna be all right." And I felt offended. I was like, what do you mean? Because I was so blindly following the false prophets of the hip hop world. This was around the time period where I told you I lost myself and I had to go running back to my folks because I was getting lured into a dark world. A portal was opening because of the way that I was following, like, I'll say it, Jay-Z was on some really dark, evil stuff. Even if he manipulated it to get an internet following, he liked that kind of pathway a little too much, and it was reflecting on us a lot, like wearing sayings on the sweaters, putting the imagery, double meaning, secret society talk, like all this weird stuff. So we were kind of like, we felt like special to be seeing all of this hidden stuff, but we didn't realize that we were being compromised. So you recognized it because you're not a dumb guy. You knew the same things, you seen the same things, but you had a grounding in faith that was much stronger than mine. Because when I was growing up, we went to church a couple times, but we were the kids that were running around the church. Little dirty ass kids running around the church, and they were saying, "Get these kids out of here." So, and also the language barrier, because I didn't know. My parents and everything will say I talked Spanish when I was little, but at some point I forgot everything. So I didn't know Spanish outside of when they were, scolding me, and then I knew that I was in trouble. But outside of that, I was talking English at school, and I was trying to be American and all that stuff. And so there was a big divide between me and the church. But I did know whenever I was in trouble, or whenever I felt like almost like, you're in trouble with your parents or whatever, then you'd be like, God, help me, save me, save. But it wasn't real until I got older. And then I realized, like, I never gave church a try. So when I did go to church as an adult, I went with one of my exes. And it's funny, too, because she wasn't really that much of a church goer either, but we were both trying something new. And then when we went, I remember feeling the endorphins that surged through you when you've seen everybody tapped in. And they even asked somebody to come up, and I got up and I went. And I don't know how that happened. It was like the Holy Spirit said, "Get up." And I just jumped up and I went and I shared. And I remember seeing my mom out in the crowd because she was there too. We dragged her out there too, you know what I'm saying? But my mom has always been connected with faith, but she also didn't go to the church as well. You see, because a lot of us think that as long as we have an open mind and a positive attitude towards the Lord, that's enough to be a follower. And I think that that's an entryway. But it's like, if you go to an event and you wait outside, take some pictures, and then leave, did you really even go to the event? Did you get the message? And I think that a lot of people, they ride the wave, they ride the bench, and they think that they actually are part of something. And that's not true. And it's really a disadvantage to that way of thought if you don't participate. Even picking up a scripture, or even pulling up Google and looking up different passages and interpreting things a different way. It's speaking with somebody who knows the word and getting their interpretation. You get such a deeper connection with it. And I've been looking for a church to go to because I wanna open my mind to and another thing, when people always talked about organized religion and gave it a bad name and things of that nature because of maybe stories that they've heard about this faith or that faith, that keeps a lot of people out of church. And I want people to know that organized religion is really just a metaphor for corruption within any kind of faith where the person in charge has lost their way. Like you've heard when Mace went to go run a church in Atlanta and then he came running back to Harlem, he got ran back out of Harlem. Like Mace was still trying to find himself, right? But he is a man of faith. I mean, even to this day, he came back to rap, but who says you can't be in rap and have faith? You're showing us very much so that you can do these things.
Yeah, but
So
with that,
go ahead.
you can't serve two masters. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be one way. Like, God, there's a scripture that says God will chew you up and spit you out. You know what I mean? If you're lukewarm. And, like, I don't know where Mace's heart is, but, you know, you can tell by his fruits. You know what I mean? What is he doing? Is he fully with God? Like, is the stuff that he's talking about, does that show God? You know, and that's how you'll know, man. Like, straight up. And on another note, like, you're talking about like the church and being outside the event. So it's just like if you're an NBA basketball player, like, you know, are you just going to be in the NBA on Sundays and you're not going to practice through Monday through Saturday, and then you come to the game and then you think you're going to play? You know what I mean? That's what Kobe said. He wasn't passing nobody the ball because he didn't trust them because they weren't in the gym and practice with them. So they sat the bench or they didn't get the ball, so they weren't active in the game, you know, when it came RIP to Kobe. So it's just like, you can go to church on Sunday, but Monday through Saturday, if you're cussing, if you're not spending time with God, if you're not reading your Bible, if you're not doing all these things, then, you know, okay, you might go to church, but that doesn't mean that you're a true follower of God. Because if you're a follower of God, then you know that your relationship matters with him more than you going to church. Going to church is a piece of the pie, but having a relationship is the full pie right there. Like, so I encourage everybody to try God. You know, church is cool, I'll get to that now, but try God first. Start praying, because after you go to church, that's what they're going to tell you. You know, your pastor can't do it for you. You're going to have to read the Bible. Yeah, you got to read the Bible yourself. You got to go spend time with God yourself. You got to praise and worship by yourself. You can come to church and do it, but Monday through Saturday, what are you doing? So that's the way to do it. Church I recommend is Hungry Generation. For sure. That's the church I go to. It's on fire for God. There's a lot of avenues, a lot of men's group. There's a lot of women's group, a lot of avenues for anybody to come in. Youth, high schoolers, middle schoolers, all that. They got so many avenues of growth that you could take. They got life class. They got new membership class tomorrow, Monday. You know what I'm saying? So like every first Monday of the month is when they have the new membership class where you can go join. Then they have like life class where you can actually start learning more and be discipled and really get shown how to, you know, have that relationship with God. And going to these life groups throughout the week is how, like, they'll show you, they'll teach you. I've been still a part of life group, and that's how I learned to spend time with God outside of the church. Put on some worship music, go in my closet and pray, and just be thankful for all of the stuff, and just spend time and feel the Holy Spirit. And like doing stuff like that is like going to practice throughout the week, ready for that game day on Sunday. You come to Sunday, you got your team there, you got your community, you got the pastor, the coach, then you got all your brothers and sisters that are like your teammates, and you guys are all worshiping together, doing all this together. But then come Monday, you got to be able to hit that practice. You got to be able to do all these other things throughout the week. It just doesn't stop, and it just doesn't start on Sunday and stop on Sunday. It started since we were born, and we go to church, and actually it starts because Jay-Z had a song that said life starts when the church ends. And you know, it's actually, life starts when you wake up in the morning every day, and that's when your life starts when you were born. But when the church ends, that's actually a dope line that he said it, but the way that it was like taken out of context is like life starts when the church and like the church ends, and now I'm back to doing life. No, this is when like you really have to be like putting your faith on. Your armor of God has to be put on. Like you got to have the shield of faith, the helmet of truth. Like you got to have the breastplate of righteousness, because when you leave the church, that's when you're going to get attacked. That's when the enemy's going to be like, all right, he's out of church. Let me throw this female at him. Let me throw this drink at him. Let me throw this weed at him. Let me throw this at him. And that's when it really counts. Like, are you going to continue being that person you are on Sunday throughout the week?
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because there's the external forces, like you said, but then there's the internal ones that you're locked in with. And you could be the one driving to go get the beer or the weed or even the girl. So it's not necessarily that these things are going to get thrown at you right away, because you have to conquer yourself, and you got to deal with the things that are going on in your head and your heart first.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right that if you can't have one foot in, one foot out. You can't serve two masters. But we also got to remember not to shut the door on people who wants to one day have both feet inside of that door.
Yeah.
Because there's some people who have cussing burned into their brain.
Yeah.
You know, like my father be cussing in front of my daughter, and it irritates me because she even says, you know, like, why does he cuss so much?
Yeah.
You know, but I realize that some people just have so much unwinding that they have to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of them haven't even started that work.
Yeah.
So what I would hope for is that a church that I do go to, they understand that I'm imperfect.
Yeah.
And if it seems like I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out, it's simply because I'm trying to get somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get forward.
Yeah. That's understandable. So that is totally understandable. Like, and being willing to admit that is everything. That's more than anything ever, bro. That's accountability. That's you knowing, like, man, this is why I am 1 foot in, 1 foot in, because I don't know what it's like to be 2 feet in, you know. And like churches, like I got so much grace because that's how I was, bro. Like I wasn't like, I just took the time to be all the way in, but it started when I was in Seattle crying, and when I started praying, going through my depressive state of mind and still smoking and drinking, coming home, praying after the club, like, thank you for getting me home safe, like, man, missing my daughters. Like, it started then. So for me praying from back then and still smoking and drinking all of that stuff up until the point of like stopping it, you know what I'm saying? It started then. It started now for you when you start praying and like going through your motions and stuff. Like you may have habits that you still do, but you're pressing through and trying to pray. So because of these prayers that you're having right now, in the future, you're going to look back and be like, man, if I wouldn't have prayed that day, if I wouldn't have prayed from that day and kept praying, I wouldn't be here. To where now I don't do none of that stuff.
Absolutely.
And yeah, bro, that's what it was for me. I realized like it wasn't that day when I threw everything away. It was the day when I first started praying, going through the motions.
Right. Because that knee-jerk reaction of purging everything out of your way, it's a good start, but it's not necessarily a guaranteed victory.
Yeah.
You know, and throughout my life, I've always gotten sick and tired of myself to the point of where I would go through purge motions. You realize the weed doesn't get you high anymore.
No,
and the drink doesn't make you feel good anymore. And then you look in the mirror and you're just like, who am I anymore? You don't recognize the person that you see.
Yeah.
And that is where I hope that a lot of people will realize, like, okay, I'm not alone. You know, there's a lot of people out there who feel how I feel, because it's usually the people who get super dark and depressed and even question their own, like, life.
Exactly.
That need to know that there are other people out there. And that's what you're talking about with the whole community.
Yep.
You know, like, if you know that the Lord is a community waiting for you, he will fill you up with the Spirit to make you feel like you're no longer alone.
Yeah.
That feeling is very real.
Yeah.
And people who are all logic based and scientific based, like, they don't understand the possibilities that are waiting for them, but they understand the placebo effect for some reason. So it's like the power of the mind works in a convenient way for some people, but they got to understand that the reason why you have a mind is because of the divine creation.
Exactly.
You know, the divine creator created this complex system, the brain, which is like human computer. Yeah. Right? That's not something that naturally evolves out of mushrooms and apes.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But let's go ahead and wrap this one up, because I feel like we covered a whole spectrum of different things here. But I want you to let people know where to find you online.
Yeah.
And you told us about the album, The Reset, and also the 2 singles to check out.
Yep.
If there's anything else that you want to plug before we end.
Sure. Follow me on IG, Jabari Heavens, TikTok, Jabari Heavens. All of the social media will be Jabari Heavens. I kept it real simple for y'all. And yeah, man, you'll see me soon. I'll be out there preaching soon. So look for that. Music is just a part of it, but the preaching and reaching the lost is really everything that I'm doing this for. God said, go out and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So that's what we're really here for, to reach the lost.
Absolutely. And I just want to say to my listeners real quick, the reason why we want to focus on you understanding that there's a bigger life, a bigger love out there waiting for you is because I know how it feels to be alone and feel like you're worthless and you feel so shameful and feel like you could never ever make up for the things that you've done. But I just want you to know that that's not true. There's a divine creator out there who will forgive you for the things that you do as long as you open your heart and you accept the Lord into your life. And I know I have a lot of friends who don't think it's possible that that's a reality, and they may be atheists or agnostic, but I just want you to know that I love you still and the Lord loves you. And if you ever want to come in this direction, the door will always be open towards you. Do you have a final message that you want to give out?
Yeah, man, try God. Go say a prayer, ask God, show me who you are, show me the truth. If you don't believe in him, tell him that too, and just ask for undeniable evidence of it and see what happens to you. I promise you, if you ever want to have a conversation with me, reach out to me on any of those outlets and we could have a conversation. Just come ready to receive and be open. If you come defensive and deflective, then it's pointless to have the conversation. But I will be there with love, with open arms. Like, I've been there and I've done that, so I'm not judging anybody.
Absolutely. And this is Tory North coming from Tory Talk Podcast underneath the Tricities Mixtape umbrella. And we just want to say, Tri-Cities up, Northwest up, 509 up. One love.